I have a new figure that should be arriving soon, and it's Gigan from Godzilla vs. Gigan. This is a Bandai Monster Arts figure. It has been released, and I just haven't gotten it yet, so I'm looking forward to this one. And so, in preparation for the arrival of the figure, I thought I would talk about the movie that this is based on. And so, this is from the Showa era. There's Showa era. Now, when I was a kid, the Showa era was my favorite era because it was the only era. There was no, hadn't even entered the Heisei era. And even when it did reach the Heisei era, it took quite a while for me to start watching those films because they weren't really, it took a while for them to release. So The Return of Godzilla, I'm not sure I ever watched it, but Godzilla versus Biollante was 89. Anyway, so Godzilla versus Gigan came out in 1972, and I had forgotten that he reappears in Godzilla versus Megalon in 1973, so I'm going to have to watch that film also. I really wasn't looking forward to rewatching this film because I don't think it's a very good film. I think it's very mediocre. Even among the Showa, which often had some issues. But overall, I do enjoy the Showa era, but this is not one of my favorites. So anyway, I watched the film using the from the Criterion Collection, which has all the Showa era films and all sorts of stuff about each one of the films. And then in the back there, you have CDs featuring all the films from Showa era. I don't necessarily recommend this collection because one of the discs has a problem in it. Apparently, it's a problem for everyone, which is that at the bottom of the screen, there's a very distracting bit of noise, some static or whatever, not audio but visual, and it's annoying that they released it in that condition. It's just one disc, but it's still quite annoying. So anyway, in Godzilla vs. Gigan, it's another one where we have aliens on Earth. We don't know they're aliens at first. We discover that later. They're from M Space Hunter Nebula, and they are ostensibly building a children's land. Their whole plan is a little like their home, a little nebulous. I don't really understand what in the world they were trying to do. They've built this thing called the Godzilla Tower, which is 160 feet tall, and that compares to the listed height of Godzilla from this era, which was 164 feet. So it is almost exactly the size of Godzilla. Their plan is to, I guess, try to summon the creatures of Monster Island and then kill them, I guess. And so there is most of the story is a human story of trying to discover what these people are doing at the children's land, because one of the women in her brother who works there has sent out a message that things are not right, and so they get this tape that is intended to summon the creatures of Monster Island. They play it, and somehow this audio tape somehow reaches all the way to Monster Island, and Godzilla and Anguirus hear it, and in one of the more cringeworthy moments of the Godzilla series, they talk to each other. Now, it sounds kind of like a backwards recording or some scratching, and but they use word bubbles for the two of them talking, and it's kind of silly. Eventually, through all this, tons of stuff happens. It's not until way late in the film that we finally get our kaiju battle, and in this case, it is King Ghidorah and Gigan who are working. I think they're being controlled by the aliens, and at one point we see King Ghidorah and Gigan flying around Godzilla Tower, and the scaling is way off because they look tiny compared to the tower, which is kind of weird. So basically, Gigan and King Ghidorah are kind of beating the heck out of Godzilla, and then Gigan famously um, is the first kaiju to make Godzilla bleed. So he's capable of flying. He's got that big buzz saw on his stomach, and he cuts right into Godzilla's shoulder and spurts blood. He's also got the hooks for hands. Grabs Godzilla and just starts pounding on him and with the hook. Anguirus is one of the most pathetic kaiju, but he does his thing against King Ghidorah. But it's almost entirely Godzilla. So the Godzilla Tower, which Godzilla kind of faces off against, has a pretty powerful laser, and it lays Godzilla out. And the humans are able to destroy the tower, and then Godzilla's looking bad. He's looking real bad, and then all of a sudden he just starts no-selling it like a pro wrestler and beats the hell out of Gigan, sends Gigan scampering off. But every time Gigan tries to fly, Godzilla hits him with his atomic breath and sends him back down to Earth. And I guess eventually he does manage to get away, and then he and Anguirus beat on King Ghidorah, and then King Ghidorah finally just heads out of there. And the aliens are revealed to be cockroaches. So there's a lot more to the story than that, but not my favorite one, that's for sure. I didn't really like the fight. Godzilla's costume at this point was very floppy and silly looking. Godzilla at one point he's kind of dancing around like a boxer, using very human-like moves, and it's a little undignified, I think. There's another part in there where King Ghidorah is hitting him with his, I can't remember what the name of his beams are. I know there's a name for it, but he's kind of hitting him in I think the face, and then moves down and hits him in the groin, and then Godzilla kind of uses his hands to shield. I found it very cringe. I know that at this point, the Godzilla films were being kind of marketed towards children, so it was getting silly, but I didn't love that part, that's for sure. So I'm going to also watch Godzilla versus Megalon, another film that is not particularly well regarded, and they are both directed by the same director, Jun Fukuda. So anyway, this is the figure that I'm going to be getting, and so this is they have already released the one from, let's see. So I have this one here from Final Wars, another film that is not well regarded. In fact, I just saw a video discussing the film, and I think it was the biggest bomb in the history of Godzilla. But for some reason, Bandai really wanted to go all in on Final Wars, so they released both the Godzilla, Gigan, and King Ghidorah. This was a figure I thought was a little interesting. So this is from Mega House. It is a $515 figure. So this is almost a foot high, made of PVC. Boy, that's a lot of money for a foot tall PVC figure. But I thought it was interesting. So anyway, this is I should be getting it probably this week, and then I'll discuss it. The film, I don't necessarily, I mean, I have a soft spot for the Showa era because that's what I watched when I was a kid, but I don't remember watching this one. There were ones I watched multiple times, and there were ones I seemed to never watch, and I don't remember watching this one, but I didn't think the fighting was that good, and the human story was okay, but kind of got a little tedious. So anyway, that's my take on the film Godzilla vs. Gigan, where Gigan first appears.